Happy birthday, Dead Last. Well, that's right. This series premiered 5 years ago today. And in that time, we've ranked so many horror franchises and genres and directors and just everything. And in that time, 51 films have been crowned at the top of the heap, the best of their group. So for this birthday celebration, I thought it would be a ton of fun to rank all of them. Yes, all of them. This is every film that has ever been placed at number one on an episode. And bear in mind that there was a handful of episodes of Dead Last that weren't movies, like ranking Jason's looks and Beth's death scenes and what have you. But here we just focused on all the films. And I challenged my patrons to rank them, which was no small feat. But considering that a lot of them had already watched the movies to rank them in the initial episodes, it didn't require a ton of watching. But all in all, including me, 54 people submitted their rankings and took the task of scoring all 51 of these. So there's a lot to get through. So we better get right down to it. But when it's Dead Last, well, let's just say you'll never know who's going to drop by. I'll point out real quick that the best score a film could have here is 54 points if everyone voted for the same film in first, and the worst score, if everyone voted for the same film in Dead Last, would be 2,554, which is, yeah, that's a lot. But coming in at Dead Last with a strong 2,149 points, the worst of the best, we have Puppet Master 3: Toulon's Revenge. It was ranked in Dead Last 3 times, and the best score that it got was 111th place ranking. And I had it in 46th place, pretty low, but not my Dead Last. But this was the winner of our Puppet Master franchise ranking, and weirdly, it wasn't in this spot until the final day of receiving rankings. It was floating around the mid-40s for most of the time, but some real low scores at the last minute pushed it down to that Dead Last spot.
Tomorrow we start all over again. Killing murderers in the middle of a war.
Our number 50 movie drops down 10 points to 2,139. And this is the film that it looked like was a lock for Dead Last, and it's Leprechaun 3. It took the Dead Last spot 4 times, and its highest vote was one 13th place vote. And I guess I like this more than most since I had it in 40th, which isn't too high, but not too low either. Like, I think it's fun, which saved it for me, but it was the winner of our Leprechaun franchise ranking way back in the early days of Dead Last. And this was in Dead Last most of the time during the ranking window. And I really thought it was a shoo-in to take it, but a couple of higher scores on the last day pulled it up to number 50.
Vegas, my kind of town.
Let's go to number 49 now, and this one dropped down to 2,111 points, about 28 down from Leprechaun, and we have My Best Friend is a Vampire. It was also put into Dead Last 4 times, but it got some higher scores to boost it up a little bit, and its highest score was 5th place. And I had this at a decent spot at 44th, and I should stress that I do like this one quite a bit still, and it was the winner of our vampire comedy themed episode, and I think it kind of sticks out on this list as being one of the lesser known entries, but it's still a solid movie. I just don't think that I have the attachment to it that I do to a lot of these others. I do kind of wish this was a little higher than 49th though.
This blood's for you.
Our 48th place film is one that I was really worried would be our Dead Last here, and with 2,079 points, an almost 40-point drop, we're looking at Troll 2. People were really split on this one, and it got 7 Dead Last votes, tied for the most, and the best score that it had was a 9th place vote. I had it a little higher at 37th, and I really love Troll 2. It's just such a goof. Like, sure, it's a bad film, but it's bad in the most perfect way. It was the winner of our IMDb's worst video, and this seems to be one that people either really hate or just have a good time with, and I'm definitely one of the latter. It's just so quotable.
Oh my God!
This next film, in 47th, was another roller coaster, and it squeaked by Troll 2 by 4 points, landing at 2,075, and it's Polyester. It was tied with Troll for bottom ranks and also had 7 dead last votes, but it also got a 3rd place vote to take it up higher. And it's fitting that this is 1 place higher than Troll 2, since that's where I had it, since I put it in 36th. This one took the top spot in our John Waters ranking, and I kind of figured that this would be low since it's one of the few non-horror based entries on here, and it was tied for dead last at one point. It seemed like it was destined to be there, or like 50th place or thereabouts, but the final day had some strong scores and pushed it up to 47th. And this is the first film on the roster that I didn't have as my number 1 in the initial episode, since I had it in 2nd place and had Pink Flamingos higher.
Look at this dress, Francine. Isn't it Ra-sha-sha?
It's very pretty, Cuddles.
Here's a bigger drop down now, since our 46th place film went all the way down to 2016, about 60 points lower than Polyester, and now we have Amityville 2: The Possession. This is our first film to not get any dead last votes, although it did have 3 people put it into 50th place, and the best score that it got was 17th, the lowest high score yet. And I'm weirdly still right alongside the scoring, since I had this one place higher too in 35th. And this one was on our Amityville ranking, of course, and it's another one that I think is a genuine blast of a film, even if it's not all that good. It's pretty crazy how consistent its rankings were, though, since no one really had it all that high, but no one outright seemed to hate it either. Now we're at number 45, and I'll admit, when this whole thing started, I felt for sure that this would take the dead last spot. And with 1,967 points, we have Rare Exports. It was put into dead last 4 times, and it also got 1 10th place spot, so there were some higher rankings too. And I had this pretty low in 47th place, and I think that this is the dividing line for me. I still dig this film, just not as much as the others. And I think that the films I have ranked lower than this, I just didn't care for all that much. But this one I do. And it won our 2nd volume of Christmas-themed horror films. And it's another one that would hover near the bottom, but then had a few more positive lists to boost it back up in the very ending of the ranking.
We have Santa Claus.
It's time for a double number with 44th place. And this was a big drop down, since it goes all the way to 1,883, a full 84 points down. And now we have Lake Mungo. It had some haters out there, since it did get put at the dead last 4 times, but it had our highest top score yet, since one person put it in 3rd place. And I had this higher than it made it as well, since I have this in 29th. And this one won our list of mockumentaries, and I really think it's one of those movies that you either click with or you don't. And it's always clicked with me, since I find it super effective and scary. I do wish it landed a bit higher, but I get it.
It's getting closer. And I don't feel ready. I feel like I can't do anything.
Our number 43 movie was pretty close, and it only dropped down 9 points to 1,874. And here we have It, Chapter 1. It was only put into dead last 1 time, and the best score that it got was 10th place. So, it's pretty comfortably in the middle performance-wise. But I had this one lower, in 49th place, and again, It's a movie that I didn't have in first place in the initial episode. It was in our second round of Stephen King adaptations, and I had the original It above it. And if that one had made it on here, I would have ranked it substantially higher. This one just never clicked with me, and it's just a film that I don't have any desire to rewatch. I mean, it's fine, and it's certainly not a bad movie, but it's just not what I'm looking for from this story. It's time for the coveted number 42 spot, and let's hope that this movie is the answer to life, the universe, and everything, but likely not, because at 1,855 points, it's the 2020 Invisible Man. This did have 2 people put it into dead last, but had some higher scores, and 1 person put it up into 4th place. And this was 48th for me, and yeah, a good deal lower than when it landed, but I just don't get this one at all. Like it's fine and everything, but I also think that it frequently didn't know the difference between Invisible Man and Intangible Man, with some of the feats that he achieves here. But it took the top spot in our Horror of 2020 episode, which, as I recall, was a pretty rough collection of films in general. This next one is the first time that I was really bummed out with this roster, because in 41st place, with 1,823 points, 30-some points lower than The Invisible Man, it's Toxic Avenger. 2 people put this into dead last, and the highest score that it received was one 9th place nod. And I had this in 17th, which is the biggest disparity between my vote and where it landed so far. This one took first place in our Trauma ranking, and I don't know, I just have so much love and nostalgia for this film, and I think it's the sheer epitome of fun trash. I really wished that it had placed higher. Our final entry of the 40s, number 40, and this dropped down close to 40 points. And it's one that I'm shocked is higher than Toxie, and it's Pearl. 1 person put this in dead last, and the best ranking that it got was up in 7th place, where it was put 1 time. And I have this one in 45th, and I think this movie's fine. It's a really well-made movie that I just found completely unsurprising and formulaic. This was in first place in the A24 ranking, where we just did a bunch of films from A24, and it's the biggest difference for me, since not only did I not have this at number 1 when we did that episode, but I put it in 5th place. And I actually thought about putting this one lower overall, but I do have to admit that I thought it was really well shot. And Mia Goth was so good at it that I just couldn't have it lower. Heading into the 30s now, and the movie in 39th place was one that I was curious to see where it ended up, and with 1,772 points, it's The People Under the Stairs. This is another one that didn't get any dead lasts, only the second film to do so, but it did get 150th place spot, and also had 1 person place it up in 5th. And that person was me, because I had this in 50th, and it's another one that I didn't have in first. And I put this one in 3rd place back when we did this as a part of the non-Nightmare on Elm Street films, Wes Craven. And look, I don't have anything against this movie, but I just don't really think about it all that much. It's a decent movie and it has some fun stuff, but I guess because I didn't watch this when it came out, I just don't have the attachment to it that some others might.
What happened? Did he get out? Burn in hell.
Let's go to number 38 now, and we're down another 32 points, and here's where you're gonna find Saw. This was put into dead last 4 times, an amount that we haven't seen since our number 44 film, and the best score that it got was 1 6th place vote. But that weren't me, because I was one of those dead lasts, and yeah, I may have had this as number 1 back when I did the list of the Saw franchise. But man, do I just not care for this set of movies. And I know that this might be controversial, and I know I've said it before, but the ending twist it's just dumb. Like it doesn't make any sense, and it's dumb. And I'm kind of bummed that this is this high, and at the very least, higher than the Toxic Avenger.
Game over.
Coming in at number 37, our next entry dropped to 1,688 points, an over 50-point decline. And now we have a more classic entry, Tales from the Crypt from 1972. This is another one that didn't get any dead last votes, but one person put it in 50th, and this is our first film on the list to get a first place vote, since one person put it there. And I've got this one in 42nd, which feels low, but keep in mind this is actually a great movie. It's just one that I don't have as much nostalgia for as some of these others, but I'd rewatch it anytime if you wanted me to. And this was first place in a round of horror anthology films, which reminds me that we should do a second round of those.
He's here, Mummy. I let him in. It's Santa.
Number 36 had another average drop because, again, each ranking was worth 51 points, so the differences could be bigger. But with 1,659 points, it's time for Blade. One person dared to put the Daywalker in dead last, and the best score that he got was 5th place. Well, I had this one in 41st place, and I'm thinking that I probably should have put Tales from the Crypt ahead of it, but c'est la vie. I didn't have Blade in first place when we did this on our horror superhero ranking, but I did have it in second, and Blade is fun. And I'm gonna rant because everyone keeps making that Deadpool joke about how there's only one Blade, and there's only ever gonna be one Blade, because they can't seem to get this new movie off the ground. But, hello, Sticky Fingers?
Are you out of your damn mind?
Here's number 35, and this is another drop around 30 points because it's coming in with 1,622 points, and here we have American Psycho. This is the first film to not get placed in dead last or 50th place, and the lowest it had was 47th place, and the best score that it got was 4th. And I have this decently high at 30th place, and oddly, I didn't like this all that much when it came out. But I've enjoyed it more and more and more as time goes on, and it's a really great flick. It was in our episode about horror films directed by women, and I guess they're doing a remake of this. I don't know if that's still happening or not.
Patrick!
What is it?
Where are you going?
I've got to return some videotapes.
Let's go to number 34 now, and this was a little smaller of a drop since it was only 22 points, but now we have Horror of Dracula, or just Dracula. Again, no dead lasts here, but it did get 150th place nod, and also some higher scores, with the best one being a 5th place vote. And this was 43rd for me, and again, great movie that I just had to rank lower based on the fact that I like the ones I put above it a little more. Because this movie does kick ass, and it was our first place winner back in the roster of Hammer films that we did. And I keep thinking in the future we should just do a ranking of just adaptations of Dracula, maybe sometime down the road. Here's another repeating number entry with number 33, and we only dropped down 16 points here to 1,584, and now we have Ringu, the original J-horror version of The Ring. No dead lasts again, but the worst score that it got was a 48th place vote, but one person did have this one in first place as well. And look at that, this is one that I had right where it landed since I put it in 33rd myself. Now, this one took first place on our list of J-horror films versus their American remakes, and I didn't have it in first place there since I had Cairo, the Japanese Pulse, in first, but the fact that I still had this pretty high shows how tough that list was. Here comes another one that I was bummed with, I guess, because at 32nd with 1,576 points, we're going into The Beyond. The worst score that this one had was a pair of people putting it in 49th, but it got some high ranks since 2 people put it in 2nd as well. And I had it high, but not that high, since it was my 11th place film. And even though I'm sad it's not higher, I completely get why it's not. It's a weird film. Like, really weird. And it was on our list of Lucio Fulci films. And I happen to be a Fulci fan, so I'm clearly going to give it some preference. But I totally understand those that just aren't into it. But damn, do I wish it were higher on here. We're staying right around this point level as we look at number 31, and this has 1,552 points, about 24 down from The Beyond, and now we have Rec, or Record, whichever you want to call it. The lowest score that we have here is a pair of 50th place rankings, and one really strong score since one person put it into 3rd place. And I have this one a little higher up than where it landed, since this was my number 24 film, and it was our top dog on our found footage list. And now that I think about it, I wonder if the Blair Witch Project had won that list, if it would place higher or lower on this mega list. But yeah, Rec is lean, mean, it just moves as a movie. It does a good job of feeling real, like a found footage flick should.
Closed off and they won't let anyone near the building and my daughter needs antibiotics, okay?
Here's our final film of the 30s, and this one snuck past Rec, since we're at 1,547, only 5 points less. And it's also our newest film on the list with The Substance. Again, no dead last votes, but there was one 50th place vote, and it did get one 2nd place vote as well. And I had this at a decent spot with 39th place, and this was the top winner of our Horror 2024 list, and I'm happy to see something so new get up so high here. I know that I had it a little lower, and I'm sure some people out there will say that I'm not fair to newer films, but I do consider nostalgia and how inclined I am, or have been, to rewatch a film when I do my own personal rankings.
Head between your legs.
And this seems like a good time to check in with a special guest. And when this show started, we had a bunch of panels and people sharing their opinions, and it feels like we needed to have some of their input. So here's someone to share their top 3.
Oh, hey there, Josh. This is Graham C. Schofield, and I'm ready to give you my dead last mega list. Wait, is it the mega list? The final list? Is it the mega final list? My number 3 is going to be, I'm going to say it's The Substance. Crazy, I know. I don't want to be too traditional in my answers. There's a lot of great movies on that list, but I just want to throw The Substance out there for number 3. So keeping the body horror thing, I guess that's what I'm into. Number 2 is going to be Reanimator. And it's because it's been one of my top favorite horror movies since I saw it. It's a must watch. And finally, the number 1 on the dead last mega list for me, John Carpenter's The Thing. It's a go-to horror movie for me. I can watch it anytime, anywhere. It's always impressive. It's always good. It's a perfect horror movie.
Our first film in the 20s range is film number 29, and it was another close call with only a 3-point margin, landing at 1,544, and it's House on Haunted Hill from 1959. It's another one that had its worst score of 50th place, here with 2 people putting it there, and 1 person also put it into 3rd. And I had this one right around here since it was my 34th place film, and I love this one. But again, just had to put ones that I'm a sucker for more over top of it. We had this one in our roster of Vincent Price films, and oh man, is it a good flick. It's kind of funny that it's one of the older films on here, and it's so close in the roster to The Substance, the newest one on here.
It's a pity you didn't know when you started your game of murder that I was playing too.
There was a bigger drop now as we go to our 28th place film, since it had 1,467 points, almost an 80-point difference. And now, let's see Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Like the last couple, this did have a 50th place vote, but only one, and 2 people did have it up in 3rd place. And I had this one pretty close since it was my 25th place spot. And really, how much of my love for this film comes from the theme song? This one took the top spot on our list of horror one-hit wonders. But yeah, I've seen this so many times. And it used to be on HBO every couple of hours, and I'm pretty sure that I watched it almost any of those times that it was on. It seems like there's a renewed interest and love for this one in recent times, so that's a nice thing, because it's strange that it never had any sequels or remakes or whatever.
What are you going to do with those pies, boys?
The numbers are a little closer as we head to number 27, and this has only 1,458 points, only 9 down from The Clowns, and it's another classic with Bride of Frankenstein. We got a little higher here because the worst score that it took was 148th place vote, but it also took the top spot once, and so far, no film has been put into first place more than once. And I had this in 31st, and it's another one that I didn't have in the top spot of the original ranking, which was Universal horror films, because I like the original Frankenstein just a touch more. But it is a great film, and it's also our oldest film here. So I feel like we're going to show some respect for the classics, with this. And this is getting a remake next year, which is kind of humorously called The Bride, with like an exclamation point. So make sure that you pronounce that.
She's alive! Alive!
Weird science.
Well, here's our dead center film at 26. There's 25 films above this one and 25 below it. So this is the perfectly average entry on this roster. But the film is nothing but, since with 1,430 points, it's Blue Velvet. One person did have this in dead last, but it had its fair share of higher scores as well, including a single first place spot. And it's another that I have real close to where it was, since it was my 27th place film. I didn't have it in first place on that list, but I did have it in second. And I was curious about this one because, again, it's not really a horror film. And like Polyester, I wasn't sure how people were going to weigh that, but we had it in our David Lynch ranking, and I had a fear that this was going to be much lower on here. So I was very pleasantly surprised when it made it up this high, because it's a great flick. So this is officially the upper half of the roster now, since we're on number 25. And this one had 1,409 points. And it's another non-horror one with The Planet of the Apes from 1968. This was put in dead last one time and didn't have any first place votes, but it did have a second place nod. And I had this one lower in 28th, but again, not an indication of the quality, because it's a great film. And for some reason, I really thought this was going to be low. Like maybe because it's up against so many horror powerhouses that I thought that its mellower sci-fi bent would hold it back, but I was apparently very mistaken. It was featured, where else, on our list of the Planet of the Apes franchise.
Many days and nights.
Feels like this is a good time to check in with another one of our guests and see what this guy has to say.
Found out about Vigo, the Master Evil, trying to battle my boy. That's Josh Spiegel.
Josh, congratulations on 73 years of dead last. Number 3 for me is The Shining. I had to juggle between American Werewolf and Fright Night, but I feel like The Shining is a perfect film made by two masters, definitely butting heads. Gozer's coming. Okay, number 2, Nightmare on Elm Street is perfect. It's perfect. You can't get better than Nightmare on Elm Street. Number 1 is Jaws. I mean, what can I say about that? Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for letting me be a part of this. I gotta go because it's about to go down.
Here we go with our number 24 film, and it's another new one, since with 1,343 points, a good 60-point drop, it's Godzilla -1. No dead lasts here, but there was one 50th place vote, and I think that may have been from Gamera, but it was also ranked in first twice, the first film on the roster to get more than one first place spot. So this one I had in 28th, and it's interesting that this little run right here, numbers 26, 25, and 24, are the more non-horror entries on this list, and outside of the substance, this is the newest movie on this roster, and it's getting pretty good marks. It was on our Godzilla Dead Last, and eventually I'll have to do a second part of that to feature some of the other big G entries. We're at number 23 already, so don't tell Jim Carrey. And this one has 1,322 points, and it's one of the big ones, since we now have Child's Play, the original from 1988. This may sound repetitive, but the worst score it received was one 50th place vote, and for the best score it managed to land one second place vote. And again, I'm close, since this was my number 21 film, and obviously this was the top pick in our ranking of the Chucky franchise. And it's funny, because I do consider the little dude to be one of the big icons of horror, and I guess it's interesting that he's our lowest ranking of those on here. But I guess that's because you could just kick him.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Hey, it's another double number now, and let's go to our number 22 film, and it's another big drop, 66 points, down to 1,256, and now we have Scream. One person had this in dead last, and they know who they are, and one person also had it in their first place. And I had this one a touch lower since I put it in 32nd, and I do really like Scream. It's a solid flick, and actually a murder mystery with a satisfying reveal, which isn't super common with slasher flicks. This was the top spot of our list of Scream and other 90s slashers, but it's crazy that in the near future, we can do another Scream ranking, because there will have been 3 of them out since the last time that we did that.
It's a Scream, baby!
Let's go now to number 21, and the drop was a little lighter, down 27 points, and it got 1,229, and it's Suspiria, the OG one. Once again, worst score was 50th place, and it's wild that so few films didn't get anyone voting it dead last or in 50th place, and it was also put in first place 3 times. Now the film with the largest number of those. And again, real close to my list since I had this at 22, and it was the top dog on our Dario Argento list, and it deserved it. It's a really cool and moody film with a ton of super visuals. I probably would have had this one higher, but let's face it, the story's not as interesting as the cinematography, but it's just such a fascinating thing to watch. Well, this is it, the final film of the 20s now, and at number 20, with 1,222 points, 7 less than Suspiria, it's time to celebrate A Black Christmas. Say it with me now, its worst score was 50th place, as one person placed it there, and 2 people placed it up in 3rd. And man, my list is not that far off, and this is another one that I had really close because I have it up in 19th. And this is one that I have up there that doesn't count as nostalgia because I didn't see Black Christmas until later on in life and didn't watch it a million times when I was younger. It took the top spot on our first Christmas horror roster, and yeah, I think it's the definitive Xmas horror flick. Time to go into the teens now, and at number 19, this was a surprise, and at 1,206 points, a drop of 16, we have another fairly recent entry with Train to Busan. One person did put this as their dead last, but one other person put it up in their number 1 spot. And I like this one a little more since this was my 14th place. And let that be a lesson to you, all you people saying that I give preference to older films, because I think this is a straight up masterpiece. We had this on a list of zombie films that were either bigger budget hits or little indie darlings, and I'm actually a bit shocked to see this one get up so high. But I'm happy that it did, because I think in a world that's jammed full of zombie films, this one set itself apart from the rest and really hit those emotional notes hard. Moving up to number 18 here, and this one went down to 1,173, and it's another bit of interesting placement since now it's Shaun of the Dead. One person did have this in their dead last, but it got a number of higher scores, including 3 second-place spots. And yep, I had this close since I have it in 16th, and it's cool that we have a double whammy of the undead right here, but 2 very different takes on the genre. But I get those that had this lower. It's a comedy, and comedy is really subjective, so if the jokes don't click here, the movie's just not gonna work. But it worked for me in a big way, and it did take the top spot in a list of horror comedies and placed nice and high here as well.
You've got red on you.
Get ready for number 17, because it's another one that I was expecting to be higher. And with 1,159 points, we're looking at Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. Its lowest score was a 47th place vote, but it also managed to snag 1 first place spot. And I was shocked with how low I had this one, since I had it in 23rd. And it's weird, because the Friday the 13th franchise is one of my favorites to watch overall. But I guess that individually, I just don't hold this one in as high of regard. Like, of course, it was the top dog on our ranking of the Friday franchise, and when we did a second opinion on that, it won it again. So clearly, it's the best Friday film. But I have to say, I'm a little shocked that it didn't make it higher up on this roster. Sweet 16 time, and this one had a modest drop of only 12 points. And this is a big one, since it's Reanimator. The worst score that this one had was 49th place vote, one of them, and the best score that it received was 1 third place vote. And I'm close again, and this was in 15th place for me. And I know I said that this was a big one, but every film from this point on is a big one, as we're now into the heavy hitters of the industry. And this one was our top spot in a list of H.P. Lovecraft adaptations, and I love that this is up this high because it's such a strange movie, and it's such a fun hodgepodge of styles and genres. I know a few other people have tried at this point, but I just don't see anyone quite matching Coombs for his portrayal of Herbert West.
Dan, look out.
Here's our number 15 film, and it's another one that's towing the line of horror and comedy. And with 1,126 points, here's where we have Fright Night. The lowest anyone had this was in 46th place, where 2 people placed it, but it was also put into 2nd place 2 times. And again, we're thinking kind of similar, since this was my number 13, and this took the top spot of a list of vampire movies, and it beat out some real heavy hitters. And I remember being shocked that it was number 1, even though that's where I placed it. And this one had a remake that people seemed to like, even though I just thought it was kind of okay.
Oh, you're so cool, Brewster!
This seems like a good time to check in with another guest. And this one is very special, since it's my wife, Christy.
Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know, I am Mrs. Movie Timelines, and I'm here to tell you my top 3 movies. My third would be Suspiria, mainly for how it's shot and the use of color, and it's just so pretty and it's really cool. My second is going to be The Shining, because it's just such a good movie, and everything about it, the production design, the costumes, the acting. It's actually like one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. And then my number 1 which is also in my top 5 favorite movies of all time, is The Exorcist. I think it's done really well. But I also have a lot of nostalgia that goes with it. It was really the first movie that just like completely scared the shit out of me, and like I think it took me and my friend like 3 days to watch. But I still love watching it, and anytime it's on, I will never turn it off.
Let's drop down to number 14 now, and this was one of the closest calls on this whole list, and only 2 points separated it from Fright Night. With 1,124 points, it's the 1987 Hellraiser. One person had this ranked in 49th place, and the best score that it got was 1 4th place vote. And here's where I'm a little different, since I had this one much lower, and this was my number 26th. This was the number 1 winner on our Hellraiser ranking of the franchise, and I had it as my number 1, and I do love this movie. Love it, just not as much as the ones I placed above it, because remember what I said about the heavy hitters?
We'll tear your soul apart.
I think I'm the saddest that our number 13 film wasn't Friday the 13th, but instead, with 1,081, around a 50-point drop, it's going to be The Fly. Like Hellraiser, one person put this in 49th place, but this got higher up since one person put it in 1st place. And I'm back on track since I had it in 12th place, a touch higher than it landed, but it was the top spot in our Cronenberg ranking. And I know I put this high up for a similar reason as I did Train to Busan, the emotional element. This movie is just a powerhouse of character work, and if you're not sad by the finale, I don't know what to tell you.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Here's our number 12 film, and now we have a 76-point plummet as this goes all the way down to 1,005. And here's where we have The Shining. This is the first film since number 38 to get more than 1 dead last, since it was put there twice, but it was also ranked in 1st place 4 times, taking the lead for the most of those. And I have this a good deal higher, and I have it in 6th place. And I know that some people just hate this one, including Stephen King, but not me. This was the top pick on our first volume of Stephen King adaptations, and I think this film's damn near perfect, and it works on a character level, a scare level, a dramatic level, everything. Going into this list, I figured that this would either be up at the very top of the list or possibly down near the bottom, so really anywhere it landed would have been a surprise, but I'm pleased it made it to 12th. And now, number 11, with a modest drop of around 30 points, it's time to take that trip down to Texas for a little Chainsaw Massacre. It did get 1 dead last vote, but it was put into 1st place 5 times, stealing that top number from The Shining. And I have this one in 18th place, which surprised me because I love this film, and I thought I'd have it higher. But I guess it's just not as much fun to watch as some of the others, so I didn't put it too high. And to clarify, this is the Texas Chainsaw, 2 words, Massacre. The original, not the 2003 Texas Chainsaw, 1 word, Massacre. Nope, no, that film I had in my dead last, because this was in our TCM franchise ranking episode. Before we get to our big finale, the final stretch, we have one more special guest coming at us, and it feels like it wouldn't be dead last without our most frequent panel member, the unofficial co-host of Dead Last, Derek.
Is that true? Do I have the record? It's been quite a few.
You are.
And then you stopped doing panels. So,
Derek, what do you got for us?
I say this probably on each one of the episodes I've been on. Like, this is the hardest list that I've ever had to pick from. Like, right? Some of them were easier than others, but this one is legit hard. Like, it's like you have like 51 of some of the best movies ever. Like, you got stuff like The Terminator and The Exorcist and The Shining and The Thing. Like, how do you weed through all of that and land on the 3 that I'll probably land on, which I just on pure enjoyment. I'll say my number 3. I'm gonna go Fright Night, I think, tonight, just because that's the mood I'm in. I'm feeling Fright Night. Man, it probably shouldn't be anywhere near the top of this list, though I am inclined to say that my number 2 is Troll 2. I would probably go with Nightmare on Elm Street as a number 2. I just love Freddy so much, and I love that series so much, and it was the one I picked from Nightmare on Elm Street. So yeah, well, I can't pick something I didn't pick in the episode, right? Like, this is what I was thinking too. And for number 1, I mean, come on, like, obviously, like, look around. You know me, and if you don't, maybe you don't know me, but if you know me and you know this room and you know what I do outside of Dead Last, then you know that I have to pick John Carpenter's 1978 classic Halloween as my number 1 from this list. Come on, it's Halloween.
Well, it's time. Top 10. This is the creme de la creme here, and this was a tough fought battle. But in the end, there could be only 10. And in 10th place with 952 points, 23 down from TCM. And here we go with The Terminator. The lowest score here was 46th place, and it was put there twice, but it didn't get any first places, but it was in second place twice. And I had this real damn high in 8th place, and whoo, do I love The Terminator. It's funny because I remember being cautious about having the Terminator flicks in the Dead Last because they weren't horror enough. But the first film is definitely horror-oriented, and at times just feels like a straight-up slasher flick. But it took the top spot in our Terminator vs. RoboCop showdown episode, and I remember being nervous that part 2 was going to win it all, but then it came down to this versus the original Robo, and honestly, both of them are perfect, so I would have been happy with either.
I'll be back.
So number 9 was not a real big drop down, since it was only a 12-point gap, and with 940 points, it's finally time for that trip overseas for An American Werewolf in London. Our worst scores are getting lower now, and the worst one this had was only 44th place, the best showing so far, but still no number 1 spots, and the top spot it got was 2nd. And yep, I was close again, and I had this in 10th place. And look, I'll admit I have some issues with the movie. Enough that when it was on the werewolf episode, I put this in 2nd place after The Howling. But those issues are not enough to hold this one back, because it's one hell of a movie. Geez, I feel like it ought to be in the top 10 just for the werewolf transformation alone. Like, remove the entire rest of the film, and this one still deserves to be right where it is.
What are you doing here? You promised never to do this kind of thing again.
I never promised you any such thing.
Not you Twitter.
I've never seen you before in my life.
Oh, sorry.
It's time for number 8, and again, not a big difference since this was at 926 points, a drop of only 14. And let's get silly with Evil Dead 2. I feel like each film is getting a little better because the lowest ranking this one had was 43rd, one better than American Werewolf, but it did get a couple of first place nods, 2 in total. And I had this really high and put it in 4th place, and this was in our Evil Dead and Other Demons episode. And how about this? I put it in 2nd place on there. And I had the first Evil Dead as my top pick. But if that movie had won instead, I would have placed it in the exact same spot here. Either film would have been in 4th place overall for me because I love them equally.
Groovy.
Our lucky number 7 dropped down another 16 points. And man, a lot of these were pretty close. But now, with 926 points, it's one that I thought had a chance of being top 3 with The Exorcist. The lowest ranking it received was 47th place, so still pretty decent, but it also was put into 1st place 3 times. And this was a tough placement for me, but I went with 5th place. And this was really hard because I love this one so much. It took number 1 in our Exorcist versus The Omen showdown, and yeah, I would have really thought that this would be top of the heap considering its reputation, but actually feel like More so than the other franchises, the ensuing sequels diluted the love of the original. But still, it's in the top 10 and absolutely should be. Let's go to number 6 now, and the drop here was massive because we went all the way to 793 points. That's a difference of 117 points, our biggest gap yet. And here we go with A Nightmare on Elm Street. The worst score that it got was 47th place, where one person placed it, but it was also popped into first twice. And I had this in 9th, and I swear, I really thought that this would be top 3. I thought for sure this one would be a contender for the tippity top. And I'm kind of shocked that it's at number 6, even though that's still a respectable showing. I know that I love a few more films than it, but I still think it's absolutely wonderful. And it was on our second ever episode, and it was just such early days that list only had 18 people send in rankings. So maybe it's time for a second opinion on it.
Please, God.
This is God.
The number 5 movie didn't have as big of a drop, and in fact was fairly close since it had 782 points, 11 down from Nightmare. And let's check out Aliens. Another lowest low since its worst score was only 42nd, and the best hit that it got was 3rd place, which it got twice. And it's our lowest top score in the entire top 10. And this is a big disparity for me because I had this all the way down in 20th. And yeah, even though I love it, it's not my favorite. And there's clearly things I'd rather have above it. In fact, when we did this film in the big Alien vs. Predator ranking, I put this as number 2. And it was tied with the original Alien for number 1. And Aliens only won as a tiebreaker. And if Alien was on this roster, I'd have put it in my top 10. But this is Aliens, so it's in my 20th place. But overall, it's still a solid score in 5th place.
All right, sweethearts, you heard the man and you know the drill. Assholes and elbows. Hudson, come here. Come here.
Getting down to the wire now, and number 4 had another minor decrease and only hit 770 points, another 12 down. And it's George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. One person out there had this in dead last, which actually shocked me a bit, but it was also put into first place 5 times. And this was top 3 for me, and I put it in 3rd. And this is just a powerhouse of a movie to me. It was first in our Romero Zombie ranking, and it truly deserved it. And I might be a little partial to this one because I worked in the Monroeville Mall, and so much of that film feels like home to me. I wish it were in the top 3, but I'll settle for 4th. That's a good place to be.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
Top 3 time. This was a straight up brutal showdown, and not what I expected. I'm not sure what I thought that this would turn out to be, but I can tell you that this was not it. And in 3rd place with 655 points, about 115 down from Dawn, it's time for Halloween, the 1978 original. The lowest score that it got was 44th place, but it also took first place 5 times, our highest number of firsts so far. And again, some tough decisions had to be made, and I put this one in 7th. And I think that's mainly due to my detachment from the rest of the franchise. I mean, this is clearly the best of that franchise, and we ranked it with the others. And I do think that this is easily one of the best horror films of all time, and one that I kind of live in, considering I'm in Michael's neighborhood literally every day. And again, I would have sworn this could be the top spot, or 2nd place, but those spots were taken by other films.
Hey, Lonnie, get your ass away from there.
And this was the biggest shock of all for me, because in 2nd place, with 634 points, 21 points from Halloween, and I swear I did not rig this, but it's Jaws. Its lowest score was 49th, and much like Halloween, it also made first place 5 times. And yeah, of course one of those first place spots was from me, because there was absolutely no freaking way that this was never not going to be my number 1. This is my favorite film of all time, and it's just straight up perfect. And it's fitting that it did so well, considering that it's its 50th birthday this year. And yeah, I never would have expected it to have taken the number 2 spot, but here it sits. The numbers don't lie.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies.
And now, our number 1 film, the best of the best. The top performer of all the number 1s of all the Dead Last episodes, and it wasn't even close. With 441 points, almost 200 less than Jaws, it's John Carpenter's The Thing. The worst score that it had was 37th place, the only film to have no one scored in the 40s or 50s. And get this, it was ranked in first place 13 times. That's more than double any other film on here. And I had it close. I had it in second. And if Jaws weren't on this list, it would easily be number 1. It's a masterpiece. And it's wild how much opinion on this has changed. It wasn't well loved when it came out, and it just slowly gained more and more appreciation. And as time went on, it became regarded as the pinnacle of terror. And look, it's not just me. It's clearly all of you, since only 15 out of 54 people had this one outside of the top 10. That means that 72% of the entrants placed it in the top 10. 24 rankings had it in the top 3. More than half the rankings had it in the top 3. So yeah, according to all of the entrants here, based on these numbers, John Carpenter's Thing is the best horror flick that we have had in all of the Dead Lasts. Period.
Come on, man. You don't want to hurt anybody.
I'll kill you!
So there you have it, 51 films that all won their individual episodes of Dead Last, but only one could be the dead best of the Dead Lasts. Yeah, let's take a look at this entire roster. So what do you agree with? What do you not agree with? I want to hear that down below in the comments. And just know that you have a chance to influence these rankings every single month. If you're out there saying like, no, that shouldn't have been there. Well, that's because you didn't vote on it. And you can by just going to patreon.com/movietimelines, and you can become a member there for as little as $1 a month, and we give a different list every month of movies to rank up. We're doing another list right now. We've got 2 of them posted for people to do, and you can be a part of that just by going there and helping out. But yeah, comment what you think of this down below. If you like the video, of course, hit that like button. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. Check it out. And of course, these guys are my patrons. They do help out. Some of them like to participate in the rankings. Some of them don't. Some people just like to help support the channel, and those people are awesome too. Either way you want to do it, it's all pretty awesome. But yeah, keep on coming back. I'm really thankful for you guys for sticking with me for 5 years of Dead Last and all of the different versions that the show has done. It's going to keep on going. Dead Last is one of my favorite things to do, and even though if it's not a strong performer as some of my other videos, I still just love to do it. So it's going to keep on going for as long as I want to. And hopefully you will keep on tuning in, and we'll see you again for another great video. Happy birthday, Dead Last.